It's so important getting the right people in the right seats. And it's challenging because you can feel like you have that right person until the next person comes along that's better. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I had, the right fit.
Sure.
And you don't know that until you just keep hiring more people.
Right.
Oh, and it's hard for me to let go of people. I'm slow to fire. You should be quick to fire and slow to hire, but that's probably the best thing that I would give away is just to always be looking for new talent.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Probate House Guy podcast. I am Brad Woodall, the Probate House Guy, and today I have my buddy Parker Stiles with Barrington Acquisitions here with us today. Parker and I have known each other since, probably when we both got started around the same time-ish. So Parker, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Parker Stiles. I'm from Athens, Georgia. I have been a real estate investing for about a decade. Me and Brad, I feel like we got together, it was like 2015, 2014, when we were kind of popping around the local meetups and things like that. We kind of had our own little group, me, you, Julie, Terry, a couple other people, rattle off. Who else was it? Amy,
Eli was in there.
Eli Rose. Dean Rappa. And we still keep up with a good amount of those people, and everybody's still in the business. As far as I know, a lot of changes have happened in individuals' businesses. But that's kind of what this is, right? That's you got to roll with the punches. Times change, and you got to stay relevant. I think that's entrepreneurship in general, honestly.
Yeah, you got to pivot. Like you have to, especially in real estate, man. We've seen the market change quite a bit over the last few years, and some strategies that we did don't work anymore, or we've had to change, or that sort of thing. So why don't you tell us about kind of the evolution of you as an investor, and what, you started out at, and what it looks like today?
Oh man. I started out rehabbing houses. I wanted to be the guy buying. Wholesaling wasn't really a big thing in like 2014, 15, a lot of the gurus, so to speak, I hate that word, but a lot of the coaches and mentors were teaching flipping versus teaching wholesaling. You could still raise money. So a lot of the pitches were the same. Like, you don't need your own funds. You can raise private money, stuff like that. But I didn't want to be the wholesaler. I wanted to be the guy buying from the wholesaler. Honestly, if I have to be honest with everybody, I just wanted the before and after pictures. That's really all I wanted. For some reason, I thought the before and after pictures were so important. So I decided to go through all the pain and annoying contractors and getting taken advantage of through contracts, and ripped apart on exchange or bid overages and all of these different things. So long story short, I did that for a couple years. I found virtual wholesaling at an event that I went to, and through virtual wholesaling, and I picked a market and kind of just got thrown into a whirlwind of learning a lot of new things over the next 2 years, to the point where I had to cancel everything that I was doing in Atlanta because it was taking all my time and money, hiring people, figuring out they were the wrong fit, hiring somebody else, wrong fit, somebody else. So, but I did virtual wholesaling instead of wholesaling in my own market because I wanted a team. I was scared to build a team. I wanted a team. And I knew that if I did a virtual market, I had to build a team, because if my market was 5 hours away, there's no way that I could do it on my own. So I'd be forced to do it. So I kind of just threw myself into the fire there. And after about 18 months, we were doing, about a deal a month, a deal or two a month. And then I said, well, why don't I just copy and paste what I'm doing now and put it into Atlanta where I live? And so we started doing that, kind of duplicated that model, hired some people, and brought that over. A couple of years later, we bolted on another market in South Carolina. that we were in. And a couple of years after that, Charlotte, North Carolina, ended up opening an office there. Thought I wanted to go be the office route so I could have the ping pong table and the money gun and spinning the wheel. And again, I got FOMO of, something I thought that I wanted, and then realized a year later after we've shut that office down that that's not the life that I wanted, or the business that I wanted. Sure. And so we've made some pivots. So we can go down those rabbit holes if we want later in the call. But now fast forward, I guess, from the beginning, almost 10 years later, we run I don't want to say wholesale business, because it's really a flipping business, and wholesaling is the foundation. Wholesaling is the conveyor belt of, I'll say this, the foundation of my company is a sales and marketing company. Real estate sits on top of that foundation. So we have a sales and marketing company that gets off-market opportunities thrown on top of my desk on a weekly basis. And then the real estate companies sit on top of that foundation, and we cherry pick those deals, and we say, we're going to wholesale these properties. We're going to buy this one as a rental. We're going to buy this one and resell it on owner financing. We're going to, all these that we're selling on the wholesale side, we're going to try and get the hard money capital and lend money to the borrowers on that side. We've got partnered real estate agents that are relisting those flips on the back end and paying referral fees over to our brokerage house. And that's the gist. Rentals, short-term notes, long-term notes, rehabs, wholesales, and wholesales.
Yep. That's great that you mentioned that, because all those things are like the tools in a toolbox, right? And like you mentioned, the foundation is a sales and marketing business. This is exactly how I run my business, right? We're a lead generation machine. And as those leads come in our pipe, we figure out the highest and best use for that property based on monetary standpoint, based on the needs of the business at the time, based on future, desires and goals. And then you just send it down the chute. And sometimes maybe it doesn't go down the chute, and it's got to come back to you, and it goes back down that chute, right?
Yep.
But you've got to, you can't be a one-trick pony, right? Now, I say that because everyone's like, well, Brad, you just do probate stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, but I still get deals through other means, but I've decided to focus in probate, but I still operate my business the same way I always have from a dispositions perspective, right?
Sure. And I think the more important diversification aspect is on the disposition side, not necessarily on the lead generation side. For example, there's companies that have all the disposition strategies and are well diversified, but all they do is PPC. So I mean, that's, as long as you're bringing in the volume, it doesn't matter where it's coming from.
Right. You just need a steady pipeline of leads and opportunities, and then you convert those to the rest. So why don't you talk about how would you say your disposition strategies have evolved over time with market changes? Like, what are you guys doing? What's your mix right now of like what you guys are doing like right now today?
The mix right now, well, the tables turned yet again a few days ago, even with this Carolina bill 4754, whatever the number is, making it quote unquote illegal to, as wild as that is to say, to wholesale. Now, it is a lot of gray area, and there's a lot of people saying this and that, and oh, but you can if you're, marketing a contract and not property. And it's all going to come down to case law. But I know that their intention was to ban wholesaling. That was their intention. So everybody out there looking for lawsuits, and we don't have to go into this yet, but everybody looking for lawsuits, it's going to come down to case law and what your intent was as a quote unquote wholesaler. Assigning a contract is still legal. If you if I do one a year to you, Brad, it's going to be fine. If I assign it to my cousin, it's going to be fine. if I had a builder friend come by my rehab that I hadn't started yet, and we worked out a deal and he said he wants it, that's okay. But I'm talking about onesie twosies. If you did 5, 10 a month for the last 18 months after the bill got signed, it is obvious that your intent was to make money by marketing a property that you did not own yet to profit on the back end. And that is what they're outlining as what you must have a license for, is marketing a property that you do not yet own. And if you have a license, there's a whole slew of things that you cannot do under this new bill when it comes to not having the fiduciary responsibility of the client that you're working for. So there's going to be a lot of people out there that are, I think, going to get made examples out of. Or well, actually, there's a lot of people in that pool, and they're only going to have to make examples out of a couple until everybody else shapes up. So
some other states have done that, and I think more states are going to do it because, as you and I know, we run like legitimate operations and we legitimately wholesale. There's the yahoos out there that have just ruined it for the industry, and they're the reason why this legislation happens, unfortunately.
But this happens to every business that is around for a long enough period of time. Regulation comes in, and I think it's needed. While I don't think the way South Carolina did it is the right way of doing it, because a lot of other states have regulated, but they've said, "Oh, you need to have a real estate license to do this."
Sure.
Or you need to take this course or have this license to be able to wholesale, or these are some steps you have to take, before you do it. They put some barriers, they put some hurdles to jump, which is fine. But South Carolina just straight up made it illegal because they said, in order to do this, you have to have a license. And if you have a license, because now they have jurisdiction over you being licensed, you're part of you. Now that they say you can't have anything to do with this, and this. Right. So, time will tell. We'll see. But I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of excited for it. It's been an emotional whirlwind the last couple of months, ups and downs. And I hate it. I love it. I hate it. I love it. I'm scared. I hate it. I love it. Right. It's going to, if let's say everybody actually follows the rules, which I think there's going to have to be some lawsuits and some big fines before that happens. But when that starts happening, and it already has started. I'm already talking to multiple guys that are virtual investors in South Carolina, and they've already shut their marketing off. They're going to other states. Our competition is going to drastically reduce.
Sure.
I think overall my deal volume is going to lower in South Carolina, and the rips that we're making on the profitability side, I think, are going to get bigger.
Yeah, because, ultimately, you and I both know that, at least I've found, that when you take down a property and you just wholesale it, a lot of times you will make more money than you would wholesaling it. But I wholesale sometimes rather than wholesale because we're running big marketing machines, and the business has cash flow needs, right? Yeah. You've got bills to pay sometimes, or you've got 4 flips in the pipe, and your cash conversion cycle on those 4 flips is not going to pay you for 90 days. So for the next 2 months, I've got to wholesale all these or whatever. But I know that if I take it down and sell it, I can make more money. But right now, the business needs say I need to wholesale this property and make 20 as opposed to 35. Right.
And the masterminds that I've been a part of, like over the years, I've always heard the rehabbers come in and say, "Oh, I've got cash flow problems." And so the solve is wholesaling some here and there. And the wholesalers come in and they say, "Well, my net is not good. Especially the ones with big teams and big marketing budgets. I don't like where my net's at." Well, you need to take some down. You need to do some rehabs. You need to do some wholesales. You need to have more than just one exit strategy of wholesaling to pad that bottom line. Yep. And they play nice together. So we're going to move in heavier into our other states. We're already in Georgia. We're already in North Carolina. We're just going to hammer down there a little bit harder to make up for our wholesaling volume, so we can have both that short term and that medium term income. And then South Carolina, I'm honestly not turning any of my marketing off. We're on 6 different radio stations there. We're on television in Charleston. We do direct mail in Charleston and Columbia, as well as a couple other small strategies and some referral sources. And I'm not turning anything down. In fact, I'm putting a little bit more money into some of those sources. And hopefully that will pay dividends while everybody else is taking their foot off the gas. Because we know the percentage of people who do not intend to buy these things themselves. They're just trying to make money off paper, which now there is going to be some difficulty doing that. Even if you are willing to push the envelope yourself, right? There are going to be less and less attorneys that are willing to close them.
Well, and all that's going to do, what this is going to do is actually give the sellers less options.
Lower.
Right?
Yes.
And the yahoos that were ruining this for the industry, you and I both know they don't spend any money on marketing, right?
Cold calling list and texting and pissing everybody off. And
yeah. So they're going to drop out. And then now you're hammering heavy on the marketing. They're going to see you and you're going to be that solution. And unfortunately, you're going to have to offer them less for their property because now you've got to take down this property. There's more inherent risk in that deal. You got to pay interest to your private lenders to carry that cost. And you've got just risk, so you need to make a little bit more. So then your offers are going to lower. So as with any, and I'm I tell people I'm a libertarian by my, government stances. It's like, by doing this, you've created now the opposite of, not necessarily the opposite, but you're trying to help the consumer, but the way you went about it, you've now actually hurt them, not helped them. So you should have, and any politician, they should have done a little bit more research and got more people involved to understand really how this industry works, to then craft appropriate rules and regulations. But as you know, politicians are knee-jerk reactions because somebody's screaming in their ear,
When the House of Representatives met, this was thrown in the last 45 minutes before this meeting ended.
Right.
So that is part of the problem. And the Senate made some changes where they separated the definition of marketing a contract and marketing a property, like 2 different things. They're saying the marketability of a contract is okay. You just can't market a property. Well, tell me how we market a contract without marketing the underlying property that it represents.
Right.
You can't. What does the flyer say on all of our email flyers? Is it any information about what number 3 says, what number 4 says, what number 5 says, what the earnest money? No, it's bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, picture link, walkthrough video, street view pictures, all the stuff. It's marketing a property. And then if you just marketed the contract, imagine how much more difficult that makes your disposition process. If you got all the property information out of the flyer, you would just have to, you couldn't even call and verbally say the information on the property to the buyer. You would just have to say, here's the contract, Mr. Buyer.
Look it over.
Rest is on you. Tell me if you want it. Tell me how that works.
Right. It leads to some, and this will all get figured out, like you said, through case law, and there will be lawsuits, and, but it's going to take years to get it resolved. So in the meantime, you're pivoting your business, right? And that's what we have to do, right? It sucks, but it is what it is. How do we figure out how to work within these constraints?
Right. So you mentioned about my kind of breakdown now. We have about 40 properties that are currently either actively being marketed or in rehab process or in escrow to close with a buyer. The ones that are active, we have repositioned some of those and reconstructed the paperwork to where the attorneys will still allow them to close, because a lot of them aren't even closing assignments anymore if they know it's kind of what our day-to-day business was.
Sure.
And then they're not doing double closes at all, because a double close insinuates that you had to market the property before you owned it. Right. The only thing they're taking is will contract a B2C contract that is dated after the A to B is actually closed and funded. They won't accept the B2C until after that point.
Wow.
Otherwise, you obviously marketed it before you owned it.
Sure.
And that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So some of those were restructuring to have the buyer be the actual buyer. We have amended our purchase and sale agreement to where they are the buyer, and then they're paying us a consulting fee at closing. So it's not a close, it's not an assignment. Now, I'm not making a business, habit out of this. This is just get the ones closed that are already done.
Yep.
Because again, I didn't market it after the bill was signed. I already did that prior to it being illegal. So it's apparently okay. But the other one, we got some new ones signed, and we're just having to take them down. So one of them is going to be a long-term note. We're going to buy it and it's actually 2 properties. We're going to put like $25,000 in them and sell it on owner financing and hold the back end debt. Another one's a duplex that we're going to renovate a little bit, raise rents, and then put it back up on the MLS as a turnkey cash flowing small multifamily property.
Mm-hmm.
And that profit's probably going to be more like $50,000 when I was running the numbers instead of a $10,000 or $15,000 wholesale.
Right.
So there's benefits to this. It's just a higher skill set that's required.
Yep.
And there's some more risk and some more cost up front. But the thing I'm really excited about is our hard money lending company. I think we're just going to eat in South Carolina for the next couple of years. We're doing a lot of trying to connect with a lot of the closing attorneys who have people coming to them every day saying, hey, I'm ready to buy this one now. I know we have to take it down, but I don't have really funding sources. So just working on my referral network there for Barrington Capital for us to lend in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina as much as possible.
That's brilliant, man. Because and also, like, if you're new and you're watching this, like, the sooner you can get more access to capital, whether that's hard money, private money, or whatever, the better investor you're going to be from a standpoint of you're going to be able to follow through on your deals. You and I closed, deals with the same attorney here in Atlanta, Josh, and I can tell you, Josh has saved my bacon on a few deals where I had a buyer back out the last minute, and he loans money, and he'd be like, okay, cool, I'll loan it. I mean, he's expensive, but I was able to tell the seller, I'm buying your property because I am, and I closed on it, and I bought it, and then I sold it a few days later, a week later, or whatever. Josh got money. Everybody wins, right? But because I had access to that, I didn't make myself look like a fool at the closing table when my end buyer backed out, and then now I'm, having to close on this transaction. Cool. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, it's going to cost me a little bit more. I won't make as much profit as I did before. But when you, as an investor, if you got access to that capital, you have more options, and it's about options, right?
Yeah. As my GM says, oatmeal's better than no meal.
That's right. I love that. That's awesome, man. That's so cool. So what does your team look like nowadays? I mean, I know you've built up the team over the years. It's evolved a lot. So how's your team looking like?
So it starts with my wife and I. We've been doing this together for a long time, and she's gradually taken baby steps away, especially with kids kind of coming into the picture. That changes things drastically. And what she does now is she's our property manager for the rentals that we have. And then she kind of plays financial management, not really CFO type level, but you could call it that. As far as just like, did everybody on Barrington Capital side, did all the borrowers make their payments?
Right.
She does the payoff statement. She closes the loans on the back end. She sends the welcome letters for that, as well as the long-term notes when we sell something on owner financing. Did those borrowers make their monthly payments, and kind of manages those spreadsheets. She helps a lot with our kind of family. We have like a cool monthly meeting that I really like, that she consolidates all of our monthly expenses, business and personal. We have a net worth tracker that we're tracking that net worth, and kind of a built out balance sheet for all the businesses, but it's combined on one spreadsheet. And so each month she's going in and making the changes through every single bank account, all the rental values, all the note values, what are our assets, what are our liabilities, what were those changes, and how did our net worth change? So we're, able to see like, hey, from January 1, 2023 to January 24, 2023, December 31st of last year, arguably a very hard year for many people. For us, last year was the year of working 3 times as hard to make less than half of what we were used to making. And then we, raised our net worth by $1 million. And that was something that I didn't even really see coming. I didn't even feel that really happening. But it was a combination of, different business ventures and appreciating values and property and, the hard money lending and selling properties and all these things. So it's a cool thing that we look at on a monthly basis to just have she likes to have a grasp of what's going on financially in the picture. She doesn't just want to play mom and do, the house stuff. But I don't necessarily want her working in the business, doing day-to-day things either. So it's a good mix for us. Yeah. But enough on that. There's me, and then there's my general manager. He and I are kind of overseeing my sales manager, my dispositions coordinator, and my head of administration. And then I have 5 acquisitions agents, 3 virtual assistants, and I believe that's it. Okay. So basically, sales manager over 5 acquisitions agents. I have a full-time dispositions coordinator, and then my director of administration or head of administration. She's basically a transactional coordinator, HR manager, with events and employee issues and documents, and then. What else does she do? All of our internal stuff. So utilities and insurance and getting the contractors over there to do individual things. So she's an integral piece of what we do. And my GM is my newest addition. And that has just kind of been that final piece to really pull myself away a little bit on helping me more on the business side of marketing and KPIs and spreadsheets and breaking down old SOPs and building them up better and stronger and more efficient and things like that. So he's focused on that net margin.
That's great, man. And over the years, obviously, you've learned a lot about hiring people. So from your standpoint, like, what kind of tools and things would you say people should really pay attention to when hiring people? Like, what do you think the fundamentals of hiring and building a team out are? Because it's trial and error, right?
It's so much it's so important getting the right people in the right seats. And it's challenging because you can feel like you have that right person until the next person comes along that's better. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I had, the right fit.
Sure.
And you don't know that until you just keep hiring more people.
Right.
Oh, and that's, and it's hard for me to let go of people. I'm slow to fire. You should be quick to fire and slow to hire. But, that's probably the best thing that I would give away is just, always be looking for new talent. You got to always keep looking for new talent. And sometimes that just takes time. And I think a large portion of businesses just really taking off after that, it's a lot of 10-year marks. The more business owners that I've met, it's kind of a round number of after, 8 to 10 years in business, like things just kind of,
right.
And I think a lot of that is because it just takes time to find the right puzzle pieces.
Do you use any tools to like hire people? Like, how do you?
Indeed. We used Indeed really heavily. I actually went through a phase where I hired a full-time recruiter for our 3 virtual markets, and we hired 56 acquisitions agents in 8 months and had like a revolving door of people. It was absolutely miserable. but I was following a coach that this was kind of what he was doing, and he was in an office. There was a little bit different. We were all on Zoom, and hey, call Mojo all day from your bedroom, and it just, it didn't really work the way we wanted it to. But yeah, I mean, this guy was running group interviews on Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Indeed. We were spending tons on Indeed ads there, and then we had different classes. So he was a recruiter and a junior acquisitions agent manager, basically. So we had a junior manager and then a senior manager, and they were trying to graduate the acquisitions agents up the class to be able to be a senior acquisitions agent, which, you got better lead opportunities and all that kind, and pay and all that kind of stuff. And we ended up keeping 3 of those 56 or so that we had hired after all the dust settled. And it was just a big learning experience.
Sure.
But Indeed is a tool. We use Wise Hire, kind of flip-flopped around between a few of those. I really like Team Architects. You can check them out. They have a done-for-you service if you want to just go fully hands-off, where they'll run the ads, they'll schedule the interviews, they'll do an initial screening for you.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really, really good, I'm gonna downplay it and call it a DISC assessment, but it's worlds better than this. It's a personality and cognitive, type test where they have all of these positions: lead manager, acquisitions agent, sales manager, CFO, COO, all the different things, and they're overlaid over these test results.
Sure.
And they can have this person take a test, and they can tell you what role they are best fit for based on how they perform on the test. And they can do all that stuff for you until the final interview where you're talking to them. So that's really cool. Or they just have, for a cheaper price, you can get access to the assessments and things like that. I've known those guys for a long time. They're a part of the boardroom mastermind that I'm in. And it's a great product that we still subscribe to.
That's cool. And I know, and there's a lot of guys in the mastermind, and we're both in masterminds, different masterminds, but a lot in our world, everyone's like, oh, predictive index, is the thing, use PI because it's way better than all this. I used WiseHire to hire the employees that are still with me today. WiseHire was great because it did the personality assessments and it said whether they would be a fit for that position. So it helped narrow the pool down. And then I personally threw in some extra sort of hurdles or steps they had to go through to then narrow the pool down a little bit more. So then I only had to interview this many people versus that many people,
Yeah, it's all about saving your time for what the data could tell you are the most important people to spend your time with. Otherwise, it can just really, really drain you. I remember it drained me before I used some of those steps. And I like the extra steps that you said that you put in. For me, we do, we'll put them on the spot and have them get on the phone in the office. They'll come in, they'll meet everybody, and we'll actually give them a script and just say, hey, you're going to, jump on the dialer and make some phone calls. And, if you totally mess up, it's not a big deal. This is really informal. Let's just see how you do. And, if they totally stumble, then, we're probably not going to hire them because we want somebody that's quick on their feet, fast tongue. And those are important aspects, mainly because we're a phone sales company. And also I have them go out with the team and go get a drink. If I only hire in South Carolina, I said I'm virtual, but all my hires are in one place.
Yep.
So the local people, I might have them go out with my sales manager and a few of my acquisitions agents and just have them informally talk and get to know each other. I want to make sure that there's a culture fit there as well. And I won't hire them if my team doesn't sign off on all agreeing that they would be a good character fit also.
Culture fit is huge. I mean, you guys have to work well together. My team, we work well together. I mean, my acquisitions guy kind of can drive us nuts sometimes because he's just that's his personality. He's a sales guy, just kind of really obsessive sometimes, but it's still a great guy. And we all we have this really good, synergy together. And that matters a lot, at the end of the day. The team has to work well together. Otherwise, you're just banging your head against the wall. So running a little short on time here, but let's get into one more topic here. What is you mentioned your marketing mix, right? You're doing some TV, some radio. How has your marketing mix evolved over the years? And what would you say, like, what are you guys kind of doing today versus in the past? Like, what does that look like?
I started with direct mail from day one. That was my first. From there, I went to, maybe some PPC, or some some PPL. I really don't even remember, honestly, Brad.
Doing PPC because you and I, we're competitors in Atlanta, right? You and I, sometimes we're running on the same appointments or the same customers. On many occasions, you and I have been dealing with the same people. I remember you were doing PPC for a little bit there because we were
in Atlanta with GeoFlip. We did that for about a year and a half or so heavily. That was like the first, kind of 10 grand plus a month marketing strategy that I jumped into. I remember just like, oh gosh, I was just not losing sleep at night, but I was definitely, plus the gross multiple was not great. It was, we were averaging like a 2x return. So, spending 20 or spending 10 or 12 and making 20 or so a month. And it was just, that was tough. I didn't like that. We ended up cutting it, and, now we're spending like 65 a month. And so it's just it's gradually changed, but direct mail has always been a kind of bread and butter. And then we're pretty heavy in, television's not cheap, and that's kind of a cool source. We get less leads, but less competition on those leads. Sure. Same thing with radio. I've been doing that about 5 years. And we just jumped or piggybacked to new stations over the years. Started with one, and now I think we're on 6 now. One's in Columbia, the rest are in Charleston. Okay. Other than that, we're doing some cold calling, Skip Trace, and we'll do cold calling through Lamasu, is the outsourced company we're using there. And we got heavy into PPL, like need to sell my house fast home offer. We're spending like 20 grand a month on need to sell my house fast for about 6-8 months or so. And it's ups and downs. I don't know. PPL is weird. A lot of people say, oh, it's really good, and then it got terrible.
Yep.
And
same with me. Yeah.
You really got to work the leads. You really got to work the refund policies.
Oh my gosh.
And at the end of the day, I think we spent about $100,000 with them over. And so it wasn't 20 grand a month every month. But we spent about 100 grand over 10 or 12 months on Need to Sell My House Fast. And we ended up making, about 350 after the dust settled. So that was fine. But we are not doing it now, but we may go back. We're watching the prices. The prices are dirt cheap right now.
Are they really?
Comparison, like all of my markets right now are under $225 a lead. Like some are 120, 150. It was like nothing was under 400 a lead 6 months ago. Yeah. But either the lead quality is trash, and everybody has said it and gotten out there and pulled away from those companies. And so they've had to reduce their prices. But I'm kind of tempted with that, with $150 a lead. I'll go spend another 10, 15, 20 grand and see if we can, 3, 4, 5 exit. So it's something we're looking at.
I've thought about, I did it for a little while, and it was killer at the beginning, and then it tapered off. I got in it back in the beginning when Amir first launched it. And it was doing it. There wasn't even the bidding system. It was just $85 per lead for your, county, and you had no other competition. And then he introduced the bidding thing, and that's when he moved to Puerto Rico and bought his yacht and all this stuff. He starts burning money. Amir's a great guy. He's the founder of Need to Sell My House Fast. He's a great software engineer, not even any background in real estate.
It's a really cool idea. We just went through trying to a partnership of where we were trying to come up with a lead gen company using co-reg data. And I partnered with somebody that was an expert in that field. And we kind of ran up a $60,000 bill on it before we realized that we weren't able to get to the clientele that we needed to get motivated sellers. So it was really exciting at first. And we thought we were going to be the next need to sell company, but that ended up fizzling out.
Well, you've always got to be testing things, right? Yeah. If there's any piece of advice, anybody, testing. How much of your budget would you say you probably set aside per year to just try a new marketing method?
Probably 50 grand or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Like I don't have a particular budget for that, but I siphon off 25 cents of every inbound dollar that comes in, and that's for marketing.
Okay.
Every dollar that comes in, 25 cents goes into a separate bank account.
Yep.
And I just use that bank account for new things. So when it's plush, if we've got, 80, 100 grand in that account and we're, bringing in more than we're, basically if we're getting higher than a 4X aggregate gross multiple, then that account is raising. If we're getting less than a 4X, then that account is slowly going down. And so based on that, we'll say, hey, let's go try something else.
That's cool, man. I love it. Well, dude, it's so good chatting with you, man. I've actually got to run and get my kid. Today's the last day of school. I got to go get in the car rider line now.
Summertime.
That's right, man. So I really appreciate you coming on today, Parker. It's always good chatting with you, brother. We got to get together in person sometime. I know since you guys moved out to Athens, you're kind of a little bit far away, but
we'll make it happen.
We got to get the crew back together.
For sure. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, man. Well, dude, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you?
Oh, really just Facebook. It's kind of the only social platform that I'm on. So Parker Stiles. I'm starting I do some one-on-one coaching, but I'm kind of starting a small base level coaching platform that's going to be more built around wealth education, not necessarily just real estate investment. And it's going to be, I haven't totally priced it out yet, but I'm thinking like $299 a month. There'll be like a private page and there'll be office hours where you can jump on and we can Q&A and stuff like that. And I'll provide resources and whatnot. So just connect with me on Facebook if any of that sounds interesting, or if you want to connect about something else or hard money lending in Georgia, South Carolina, or North Carolina. We'd love to help you out with that.
Awesome, man. That's so good. Thanks for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to reach out to you, they got your information, man. All right, dude. Well, enjoy your weekend. I'm sure you guys heading up to the lake this weekend.
We just got back last week, so we're gonna hang by the house. Casey's 8 months pregnant now, so she's in the middle heat of summer. She doesn't want to go anywhere, so I think we're gonna be right here at the house in the air conditioning.
That's why Becky's my wife's a couple months behind yours in terms of pregnancy, and we canceled our beach vacation for July because she's like, there's no way I'm sitting on the beach, 8.5, 9 months pregnant in July. Sorry.
I don't know how they do it. I'm proud. I'm glad they're here, but I'm proud to be male.
That's right. That's right. Awesome, man. Well, always good to chat with you, brother.
Thanks, Brad.
Later.